At first glance, this painting may look like it is all about light and shadow, but if we look closer, the real challenge is texture. A rough, weathered wall, laid around it, terracotta pot, and a white fabric shaped almost entirely by the fold. They are all watercolor, but they should not all feel like they are the same surface. Hi, I'm Beatriz. Welcome back to the studio. Today we're gonna make these three surfaces feel completely different, not by painting every detail, but by the way that we handle the paint for each one of them. So let's get to it. I am starting with the darkest opening because it sets the value range for the whole painting. Once it is in place, I can judge everything else against it. I first wet the area with clean water and then I bring in a mixture of indigo and burnt umber. Together, they will create a very deep brown, almost a black, but with more warmth and variation than using black alone. The paint alone pack for this tutorial is inside Open Studio on Patreon with the 8x10, 9x12 tracing templates, the finished painting reference, colors used and direct tutorial link. You can scan the QR code or find the link in the pinned comment below. Near the bottom where the olive branches are, I place olive green for the branches, then paint the dark mixture around them almost like negative painting. I only want enough green to remain visible against the dark background. I am now adding a light transparent wash or raw sienna across the wall, avoiding the white fabric. At this stage, I'm only establishing the warm base, not the texture. For the area on the left, I add brown sienna to make the color warmer. And for the terracotta pot, I'm using Schmincke transparent orange because this is only the first layer. I'm keeping it light. Now for the darkest value and the basic underpaintings are in place, the surface are looking quite simple, but moving on from this point forward, I'm going to handle each one differently. I will begin with the wall and start building the rough texture. Let's start by making the rough and the wall. For this, we're going to use two different techniques. This one over here is brown sienna with a little bit of raw sienna. And first, I'm going to put my color in the area that I want it to be rough. I'm going to spread it, and sometimes it doesn't want to leave my brush, so I push. This is what is called a dry brush. And then in the rest of the area, I bring more water, and then I cover. For the dry brush technique to work, we don't have to carry too much water in our brush. The other one is, I come with more water. This time I'm going to do only raw sienna. And then I put some of that in an area or two. Say for example like that. Then I come with a brush and then I spread some, but not all of them. They will create the impression also of texture. I'm going to do that in this part as well, a little bit. I want the sun kissing here, so basically this part is going to be washed out. Put a little, go with one that only has water, allow for a tiny little bit here and there. I'm going to continue with the brown sienna, but I want it slightly more on the gray, so I have a little bit of the colors from my background. I'm going to bring some of that here. And now I'm going to first put kind of like a layer here. I have a big area here, so I'm going to wet because this one I want it to cover completely. So I start bringing it up because we wet it, the color is spreading nicely. So now I don't want that. I want to start bringing a little bit of texture. So now I'm going to apply in color in a place that has not been wet and give me some of that. If I come with water, and I go into some areas, almost like creating a blossom, not a full blossom, then it's giving me texture as well. I put the burnt sienna. Then I go with the water, and then I bring some here and there. I am allowing some of the color of the underpainting to show. Finally, I'm going to come with the darker colors, this time in dry paper. I have a big area, but I want some texture, and I also want to create like a depth. So go with that, switch to whatever I have here of my burnt sienna, add it right away. I'm going to come with water, because I want to go from more to less. And I guess in a way, another way that we can say this is like you don't want to be neat, you want to be a little bit more messy in the way that the colors blend, because that is going to add to the sense of texture. I mean, within limits, obviously. We're going to allow most of these to dry, and then we'll come back from the second round. I'm also going to dilute a little bit of the colors from the background with the burnt sienna. I have to be careful where I rest my hand. And then we're going to bring some of these over here. Here is as if it is wood. So now these ones were going up, and now I'm going to go on to the opposite direction. Okay, and now that this is dry, playing with the same colors that we've been using till now, we're going to put kind of like crevices and cracks. This is in the light, so I'm coming with a color that is not too dark. This is burnt sienna with a little bit of the background colors. On top of the other ones that we did, I put 1 or 2, and then rinse, tap. Again, I don't want them all blend or smooth. I want it to show. I'm going to do a couple in this big part here and there as well. I already have texture. I just want to put a little bit of the darker colors. A little bit darker, meaning getting a little bit more of the browns, dark browns. I'm going to start putting a few crevices here and there. Again, broken it up and not all even. That's very important that they're not even. Some of the colors from the darker ones. And then I do a couple of them here and there. Again, broken up. Then I rinse my brush. I come with the burnt sienna. I put some next to it. And I come with a brush that only has water. And then I spread. But again, I'm not trying to blend even. The idea here is to have some roughness, go back to the darker colors, and while it's wet, we can dark a few areas, leave some of the other colors that we've been building to show. I want to warm this area a little bit more, so I come now with burnt sienna. I drop some, bring it down, rinse, tap with water. A little bit here too, and by allowing the different layers to show, we are creating, adding also to our texture. Rough doesn't mean more detailed, it means broken edges, uneven marks, and less blending. And right away I start adding a little bit more of the transparent orange by Schmincke, and then I go with the brush that only has water, and then I blend this a little bit. I wet around here, not because I have more highlights, but because I don't want to have hard edges. I start moving to the burnt siennas, get some of that orange, and have them both blend around here. We were trying to get the texture of the walls. It was all about being rough. Here is the opposite. We want it to be smooth. Let the color also help us bring the volume. I am continue to be very careful not to paint my cloth, and this is all about smooth transitions that as we bring the darker colors will give us the volume of the jar. So this is going to be a highlight. I'm using the same color that I did from there for this part. Gonna allow a little bit of the underpainting color to show here where there's a big highlight. So I'm not going to bring it all, leave a little. Now I need to let all of this dry. While this is drying, I'm going to bring some of the burnt sienna, and we're going to put a little bit here. We're going to darken this part, but we're going to warm it up slightly. Be careful here by the fabric and around the pot. We come back to the background colors, and we're going to darken this a little bit and have a transition between this color and that color. So now go ahead and wet till around here. I just drop in water. I am not moving things around. The reason why we're waiting is so that I don't have a hard edge. I come with my darker color. Have the transition that is too lighter but not so light. It's time to start putting the shadows. I'm coming with burnt sienna and burnt umber, and we're gonna go ahead and start. This is more in shadow, so this handle will start being a little bit shadow going from more to less. So we start like that. Then we come with the brush that has water and we blend these two colors. Now I'm coming just with the burnt sienna and then put a little, go with the water, keep the highlight, and notice how we making this handle turn just by doing the combination of light and shadow, but how I'm keeping everything smooth and blended. Okay, now burn umber with a little bit of the colors from the background. Here at the and this one over here is a strong hard shadow, but keep in mind there is a little bit turning. That is not a straight because this has volume. Let's continue building this shadow. So I got same colors. We're gonna come here. We continue to create the volumes by bringing the dark over here, greens. All right, now we're gonna wet till around here. The burnt sienna is by Winsor & Newton. It is a burnt sienna that is slightly more on the orange side. Okay, as I get out of there, I get darker. This part is lighter, that's the lightest of all, and now I start getting a little bit darker. So for this, I'm gonna start bringing burnt umber. Burnt umber is the shadow that will continue from here. Let's just wrap it here as well. And this is also giving us the roundness of the pot, but also how it's coming from dark to light. Also notice how I'm keeping my texture smooth by having these wet transitions between the colors where it makes everything soft. I'm coming with the burnt sienna and have them blend inside the paper. For one is coming like I mentioned before from dark to light, and it's also giving us something important, which it is smoother transitions than the ones that we were using for the walls. Now, I need to work fast because I'm getting a little bit of a hard edge and I need to take care of that. So I'm alternating between the burnt umber and burnt sienna. And now I need to have these two blend. I come with a damp brush, meaning one that has a tiny little bit of water. Not much, it's just slightly humid. And then we're gonna go ahead and start having the blending without a hard edge. Okay. Now I'm coming with the dark color here and have a transition, bring a little bit of water, like the pad is coming from the dark onto the light. Let's just do something with these olive branches. They are here, but obviously they are coming from the between the shades. So I'm gonna wet. Olive green, darker. Put it in. Here in this bottom part, I can wet till very close to the pot. I want the color of the background and the new olive green to blend a little bit more. Then in some areas I want it darker, so come with a little of the indigo, drop it on top of the olive green. A little bit of negative painting, sort of like a couple of the leaves, maybe getting some light. So I paint around them with the dark color, and those ones show up more. I'm gonna go ahead, bring it up a little bit to meet the water. This is only water to meet the darker part. Continue to bring some of the olive green in these areas too. Let me take care of all the dark color while things are wet. Then we will do the inside of this. So back to the background colors. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of a hard edge, so I come with a soft brush that only has water and I bring it. The only reason for doing this is because I don't want to have a hard edge. So drop, drop, drop. Well, we had to go all the way to the other edge. That's okay. If you had to do that, go for it. You will have a smoother transitions. Bring it all the way to the edge, to the bottom. This is wet. I can drop a little bit of colors that were getting a little lighter. So some of those colors. I just made the shape of a couple leaves here. Maybe, well, this one won't be so light, but it can be a little lighter. Impressions of leaves. And now with a brush that only has water, while all of this is wet, I just come because I want this bright, but with a little bit of those transitions. You're gonna see them, but in some cases it will not be so bright. Now we have the rough marks on and texture of the wall, the gradual transitions and subtle texture of the terracotta. So now it's time to move to our fabric. Yes, I saved the fabric for last because I wanted all my dark values to be established first. The fabric is basically white, but now I can gauge better how dark I can go with the folds, which is what is going to make the fabric feel realistic. White objects, they are surrounded by color, some of the color transfer. So this cannot be completely white. I'm going to come with a very light wash that has very pale orange and a little bit of gray. This is gonna dry almost as if it is completely white, you'll see. This fabric is gonna be described mainly by the shadows created by the folds. So because of that, I need to let all of this dry before we come and put those shadows. So this part over here is gonna be a little bit darker. Therefore, we're gonna be using the same colors that we were using for the background. And as we do this, we do a little bit of negative painting, meaning we are also making the shape a little bit of the terracotta pad. So let me darken the colors a little bit. Now I'm gonna come and apply the shadow. I have to go darker, I don't know. I'm gonna go lighter first, and then there's always time to darken a little bit more. Here I'm coming with a little bit of the leftover of the oranges, burnt siennas, and I added a tiny little bit of gray. I may have to do a couple more, we'll see. I have one around here. I'll come down, and then this other one. One thing to keep in mind when we do these folds is that we never put them completely straight. We go a little bit in a curvy motion, because that is going to give more movement to our cloth. This will go, and we're building shape at the same time that we're building these folds. We're giving it a little bit of shape to this fabric. I have some sharp cast shadows, so I'm putting those first because they are the darkest one, and then I will know how light or not to go around it. So first I mark my cast shadow, then I bring the color all the way to the fold. The shadows are always closer, darker to the object that is putting it. In this case is the fold, so closer to the fold it will be a tiny little bit darker. Now I'm continuing to do come with the orange, my folds, orange and gray. This part over here is a little bit lighter, so I bring it, this other has dry, so go like this, more to less to less to less, where it will turn. We're trying to create here the folds and also movement of how the fabric lays. Now I switch to gray, and while they are wet, let's just these two blend together, but have a little bit of a harder edge here. Let's start putting the other hard cast shadow. We got one, we got a second one here. I'm hopping around because these are wet, so now that these have dried, it's time to put the darker colors. And now I just have to find a place to rest my hand. Anyway, we got a fold right here, darker. And the shadow will go like this, tap with water. And then darker here, because it's making also the shadow where it's resting on the surface. So that's dry enough. We're gonna do again, go from more to less, less, more right here, and then more. Switch to a little bit more orangey, a little bit more warm. This has dried, so let's just put a few transitions. Tap, 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 tap. So now I'm gonna adjust some of these shadows. I probably will have to go darken a few, but let's just see. I'm gonna darken this one and I'm gonna lift this part of the fabric. So darker, this is brown umber, by the way. It's gonna go all the way till here and then close to the edge. Here I'm gonna wet a little bit in the middle, and then with the same colors I'm gonna make it sharper here, so it kind of lifts my fabric. Sharp edge. Maybe some of the brown siennas here in the middle to warm it up where it gets a little bit lighter. Now this has really brightened all our fabric. A little bit over here as well, a little bit darker, more water. Bring it to the edge of the fabric, and then with the darker colors, let them blend more. And then I'm gonna darken it up right here. Ta, 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 ta. Little off texture, so not so even. With the same brown umber, I'm gonna put the darker shadow. I'm gonna need to darken these shadows a little bit now. So I come with the color. Then as I come down, I get it a little bit wider. And then just with water, I tap some of the color and bring it out. Bring some of that color here as well. And do the same thing. Tap, bring it out. Tap. Let's warm up a little bit of the shadow here by coming with the brown umber on top of all these grays. I'm gonna put a couple little different things, like a little line here, broken up, as if it is the wood that continues. We can put one, maybe the impression of a second one around here. And a couple of finishing touches, like this shadow needs to be a little bit stronger. So let's just come with some of the burnt umber, bring it out. This one needs to be a little bit stronger as well. So come with a little bit of the burnt umber. It will come more from the corner. Let's get some burnt umber, brown sienna. We wet the rest and then bring some of the color. We want texture. This is wall, and we were creating the wall texture. So the shadow is a cast shadow, a hard edge. I have a lot of different textures. I love how the light is hitting in all of them. And I think we're gonna call this painting done. As you can see, each one needed it to be handled in a different way. Some with broken edges, some with the smooth transitions, and others with the hard shadows that created the folder, all the fabric. I hope that this gives you some good ideas that you can use in your own watercolors when it comes to creating different type of textures. As always, the Patreon will be linked in the comment below. I thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next video.